Hey there, welcome back to my channel, Blue Nose Trading. My name is Tori Solis, and in this week's video, I'm going to go through a time lapse of making a pair of chicken planter pots. These chickens are going to be made from a mix of my recycled studio clay. Based off what I've been making with lately, I'm fairly certain my reclaim is going to come out a slightly darker than buff clay with some speckles. Always with speckles, I love speckles. The base for each chicken is a pot that I've thrown on the wheel. I throw the pot and then I slow dry the pot to the point where it's leather firm for trimming and adding sculpture to. Timing is of the essence when you are working with ceramics. If the clay gets too dry, it can crack from the base pot when I'm putting the feathers and other chicken parts onto it, or the added pieces can fall off or crack as they dry due to differences in shrinkage rates while drying. If I work with a pot that's too wet, the pot can warp while I'm making attachments or adding feathers. This isn't usually a problem as my pieces get drier, not wetter with time. The clay being too wet isn't that much of a problem because if it's too wet, I can simply let it dry out a little bit longer. If I'm worried a piece might dry out too much or too quickly before I'm able to work on it, I can store it in my damp box. My damp box is a plastic storage tote with a thick layer of moistened pottery plaster at the bottom. It creates a damp environment that keeps the water content levels of the clay even and constant. It's really helpful when I won't be able to get to a piece in time to sculpt it before it would become too dry to work with. If you want to learn how to make a damp box, I have a video that can walk you through the process. For the chickens I'm making today, I want them to be a matching set. I'm going to make them back to back to ensure that they've got the same vibe going on in each of them. The first pot here is a rooster, and the second pot that I'm going to make is going to be the hen. Attaching the feathers is the most tedious part of the process, but the end result makes it worth the hard work. My favorite part of sculpting process for these is making their face. Every face comes out slightly different. It's interesting to see how the clay wants to be when I'm in the middle of sculpting them. Making their faces is a very intuitive process for me. I don't have any specific idea, just a general frame of flexible guidelines, and everything else is a collaboration with the universe. These chickens have been an ongoing study in my work from the beginning. They continue to grow and change as I continue to make them. That growth and evolution are the essence of the work. In every pot, I'm learning and developing new ideas for the next pot. In that way, my work is something that is in motion. Any one piece is merely a single moment in time, but my work exists throughout time. As the consciousness of the artist, I am an ongoing process and experience existing through time. I have no idea where I'm going, but in each moment and in each piece, I do enjoy where I'm at. Once I finish sculpting these, I will set them onto my drying shelf of hardy backer boards to dry out completely. When they are bone dry, I'll put them into my kiln for their first bisque firing. For the first firing, I'll take these pots up to cone 04 or around 1900 degrees Fahrenheit. After this firing, the pieces will become bisque. Bisque is a form of porous ceramic that is ready to be glazed. For glazing, I'm going to use a combination of rust and brown. I use a smaller brush to get into the details and finer parts of the piece first. This is going to ensure that all those hard to reach places are getting adequate glaze coverage. Since they are a matching set, I of course am going to be glazing them with matching patterns. The majority of their body is going to be cream breaking rust, leaning on a thinner coat for mostly rust. I'm going to use waxwing brown to add some depth to their wing, tail, and neck feathers. For the details in their faces, I like to use Mako Stroke and Coat glazes. These are a stable and consistent glaze that provides solid color for the eyes, beak, and comb. These are my current go-to when I want a glaze that is a simple, stable, reliable, glossy color. After firing them in the kiln to cone 6, or about 2200 degrees Fahrenheit, these chickens are all done. I've decided to name them Tim and Faith after Tim McGraw and Faith Hill. I wanted them to have country themed names, so that worked out nicely. These pots will be available on my website shortly after this video is up on Patreon. If you're watching on YouTube, they've been up there for a while now. You can check out bluenosetrading.com to see if they're still available, no guarantees though. I also changed my shop settings, so now items that are out of stock will be invisible instead of saying out of stock and cluttering up my web store. So I think that will make things easier to navigate. If you want to get first access to my work as it's being made, consider becoming a supporter of my work at patreon.com/bluenosetrading. Patrons get early access to all of my videos and my ceramic work. If you'd like to stick around for a weekly art video, be sure to subscribe to my channel, Blue Nose Trading. I post a video every Friday at 5:30 p.m. Central Time and daily shorts. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. Remember that you have great ideas, you are important, and drink lots of water. I will see you guys next week.